11 games, 6 wins, 4 draws. No, doesn't sit right with me either. However, we have made moves. I've brought you back for a really big episode today. It's the last game of the season. There is absolutely nothing on the line. Unfortunately, we cannot qualify for Europe, and I'll show you why in a moment. But we've got a lot to discuss today. First of all, we have appointed a new head of youth development, and I have strayed from my normal path. We put a job advert out. It was a pretty small pool of people that applied initially, so I left it running for maybe about 6 weeks or so. And the man we've gone for is Ivan Beshak. And I've appointed him for a couple of different reasons. First of all, because of his personality. Now, normally, I favour a personality that indicates some kind of professionalism, either fairly professional, fully professional, or personality such as resolute or driven. But this time, I've gone for a candidate that was fairly ambitious. Now, I have got really fed up with the number of players coming through that have unambitious personalities, and there's also been an increasing number that have been coming through with low determination as a personality. Maybe, even though our previous head of youth development had a professional personality, his determination might not have been great, and I think it's been costing us in terms of the youth development. So Beshak comes in, who hopefully is going to bring players through that are a little more ambitious in their outlook. And the reason why I've taken a punt on ambitious is because it's the personality that Denis Valencic has, and he has developed incredibly well whilst he has been at the club. He's on a little bit of an incline at the moment in terms of his progress, and that's probably no surprise given the form that he's in with 29 league goals in 34 starts. But there's another element of this head of youth development that I've been drawn to. We've not really been producing very technical players in our time at Dob. We've got good defensive midfielders coming through. Looks like we've got a couple of reasonable centre-halves and some out-and-out goal scorers. But I've gone for a coach who likes a vertical tiki-taka system and also plays with an AM or a 4-3-3 DM wide. So with those more advanced midfielders, in the hope that we might get some more dynamic talent coming through, people that can pass a ball, people that can craft a chance, maybe even some people that are quick, because we are woefully short of pace in our squad. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think of old Ivan Beshak? It's difficult. We can't see anything about him, but he does have a Continental B licence, which I quite like. Let us know down in the comments, do you think having a fairly ambitious personality might help us with the quality of youth players we're going to be bringing through in the future? So why can't we qualify for Europe then? Well, we head into the final day of the season with a game against Maribor, who've won their last 4 fixtures. If we were to be victorious today, we would climb to 50 points, bringing us level with 4th place Bravo. If they were to lose their game, we'd then need to separate 2 teams that are on 50 points. Unfortunately, in Slovenia, it's the results between the 2 teams that are used to separate them. And against Bravo this season, I'm afraid we've lost 3 times and drawn just the once. So even if we do pull off an unlikely win against Maribor, we would be equal on points with Bravo, and they would qualify for Europe ahead of us. However, we need to talk you through why today is such a big episode. Because over the last 2 games, I've released the handbrake on the side, and I like what I've seen. So last time we saw you, we were getting thrashed 4-1 by a Tabor Shajana side that were towards the bottom of the table. Well, we lost to Bravo by the same scoreline in our next outing, going down 4-1 once more. And once more, we were reduced to 10 men in a game against Olympia where we held on to the 76th minute but eventually lost 2-0. So we adjusted our tactic and it bought us 0-0 draws against Triglav and Koper, but that made it 3 games in a row without a goal. So in the next game against Telia, we went more adventurous and it paid off as we managed to score 4 goals. After the opener by Chris Snitch, that man Denis Valencic took over, scoring a poacher's effort before Tristan Tiegler set him up to score his second of the game, and the same man supplied him once more as he managed to score a hat-trick before the half-time whistle had blown. And in our most recent outing, we won 4-0 against the side that you saw us lose 4-1 to in the last episode, and Denis Valencic netted his second hat-trick in just 2 games. So here is the tactic in question. It's wonky, it's asymmetric. I don't get on with those kind of formations normally, but I've designed it with a lot of thought in mind. I've tried to create more dynamic movement. I've tried to make us more threatening. I've tried to create a formation that's going to allow us to develop the best players that I think we have coming through. I think it leaves us a little open in some areas, but I think it makes us more potent in others. Let me tell you the reasoning behind it. I've decided to go with a sweeper keeper on defend as our goalkeeper. Normally, I am wedded to a goalkeeper on defend, but I've gone sweeper keeper this time. I've got no idea whether young Alan Seifer can play that role, but he is improving in all aspects of his play, so I'm hoping he won't make too many rash decisions back there. I do like the way he's developing. He's still only 17 years old. I think he's become our first choice keeper, and he's already good enough for the division below at the tender age of 17. So another year, and I think he could be a top flight player. I've decided to go with a central defensive pairing of a central defender on defend and then another one as a stopper, and it's young Martin Puchko, who I've asked to be the more aggressive, attacking, in a defensive win the ball kind of attacking sense of our 2 centre-backs. He's a consistent performer, fairly professional, and in what is his first full season of football, he's averaging almost a 7. Not bad for the central defenders we've been bringing through. If we contrast that with somebody like Mateusz Szalaman, who's now in his 3rd full season with the first team, he never got anywhere near averaging a 7. And he scored more goals than Puchko. So I'm pretty happy with the youngster there. We're asking an awful lot of our right back because I'm asking them to gallop forward and then get back and defend. So in an attacking sense, I've decided to give them the support of Tristan Tiegler as a Mazzala who's going to drop into these little pockets of space, I would hope. Tiegler has some things from his coach summary that lead me to believe he might be quite good there. He's got a decent amount of pace and can spot a pass and should be able to create some chances. And we saw that he's got assists for Valencic in the last couple of games. So I've liked how he's played there, and they've combined pretty nicely. They did have that horrible connecting line when they were playing as a wide midfielder and a fullback, but now they are linking up pretty well back there. And also to support Zidane in a defensive sense, I've brought Kautic back to be a defensive midfielder, a half-back this time. And in front of him, we've got the extra resilience of a ball-winning midfielder in there as well, which for today is going to be Jaka Kasnic. But next season, I have a youngster that I'm pretty keen to develop, and he turned 17 just yesterday. And his name is Igor Zhirl, who is not developing very well at the moment, but I'm sure he will because he's got a reasonable personality. He's already a 2nd division standard, and he was when he very first came through almost, 2 seasons ago, and we've waited an awful long time for him to have his 17th birthday. But we can finally squeeze him into the side today, and he can be a ball-winning midfielder for us next season, which I think is a role that he's going to get on quite well with. And having those 2 players in the centre of the park that are both going to be a little bit more defensive-minded is going to allow us to have a central midfielder on attack, which is what Jaka Kasnic played for us during his first 2 seasons at the club, one of which he scored 9 goals in the top flight and was bursting forward from midfield and breaking defensive lines and looking really good doing it. So he's going to be able to move back and play the role that I think he's most effective in. And when he's not playing there, it's going to allow us to develop more young Alan Kotnich, who you've not seen all that much from, but he actually came through the same youth intake as Denis Valentic. That was our very first youth intake, and I've not used him all that much, even though I think he has a little bit of potential as well, because he's currently operating at a second division level and could be a Division 1 level player in the future. So I want to give him more game time over the next season. And then by playing this lopsided asymmetric formation, I've got a brace of players that I could play as this inside forward on support. Now, whenever I've played inside forwards in the past, my tendency has been to put them on an attack duty, thinking that that would mean that they would burst into the box with more regularity. But since I played this formation 2 games ago, I've had it on support, and I've quite liked the way that that has linked up play, but still got forward and looked dangerous. At times they look like a conventional winger. At other times they look like an inverted winger. At other times they look like an attacking midfielder and have been dropping into number 10 spots, as well as linking up with their fullback from deep positions. So I've liked that shape quite well. And in the first time I played this formation, Martin Ivacic played out there and played very, very well. Unfortunately, he's picked up an injury that's going to keep him out for today's game and the first part of the off-season. So Simon Gregorin came in and played in the same role in our last game, and he looked really good as well. And then, of course, we can rely on dirty Denis Valentic to lead the line for us, and he is looking to be the player that's going to finish as the top scorer in the top division this season. He's on 29 goals, 5 goals clear of his closest rival, and back-to-back hat-tricks mean that he's looking in pretty good shape. Let's show you who we're going to be up against today as we try our new formation against a side that are a lot better than what we faced recently. It was a disappointing 7th place for Maribor last season, but they've pushed Copa all the way for the title this campaign and look to be finishing runners-up in the league. Manager Amir Karic has been in charge for a year and was probably a surprise appointment, having previously been at 2nd Division Rogashka. But his side have had a good campaign and will hope to finish with a win, and they are the home side as they take on Roltek Dob. So we're in the yellow shirts today. Maribor are in the purple kits, and we've got a couple of things to talk about today. First of all, keep your eye on our central midfielder, the ball-winning midfielder. We're giving a full debut to Igor Zhul, who has only turned 17 a couple of days ago. We've got big hopes for him. He comes through as a Kaučić replacement, I originally thought, but now that Kaučić has signed a new contract, it looks like they could be pairing up in this new look midfield as Denis Valentic puts us ahead after, 70 seconds or so. Kasnic got forward as the central midfielder on attack, and I love the dynamism of the run from that role. He's gone past the inside forward, he's gone deep into the area, and he's got 2 players to pick out in the box, and the man you want in that situation is dirty Denis Valentic. I think that could be his 30th league goal of the season. He might not be the next Benjamin Seshko, but he could certainly be our version of Arnel Jakupovic, the way he's played this season. But here's the other thing we want your comments on down below. Do you think it is time to take the handbrake off this team? For 4 seasons of top flight football now, I've been trying to protect a very weak defence. We don't really have great fullbacks, and we've never really had anybody that could play alongside Darko Mitrovic that was able to get a rating even close to a 7. Well, we have that now with Pushko. We've got Zidane, who's our captain, and a decent right back. Yes, we are still short at left back, but maybe with the protection of Kaučić ahead of them, and with potentially Igor Zhul in the central midfield, maybe it's time for us to be a little bit more adventurous in our play, try and make better use of our attacking talent, Kasnic and Tigler in the midfield, Gregorin or Ivacic out wide, dirty Denis Valentic up front, and play with a more aggressive approach, I guess, maybe closing down a little higher up the pitch, maybe trying to take the game to the opposition a little bit more. It's worked so far in this first half against Maribor. Very few efforts on target, but we do find ourselves in the lead. We've brought on young Alan Kotnich. We did say that we wanted to give him more game time. He is a striker or a left winger himself, really. So we're playing him as the central midfielder on attack. That's a role that we trained him in when he first came through as a youngster. And we've moved Kasnic back in. Kasnic back in to be the ball-winning midfielder. We've been opened up there. We've got Mitrovic highlighted. I'm not sure whether he was to blame. He's currently playing a 7.1. But he might have made a mistake here. We've got a player that was given way too much time and space. Mitrovic didn't close him down. And Musel has managed to run in from a central area unmarked and got Maribor back into the game. But if you look at the match stats, well, we've done okay so far. Gregorin is playing very poorly out on the wing. We're approaching 90 minutes. There's no indication as to how much time is going to be added on yet. So this is another proper highlighter. Maribor have got the ball. You can see we've got numbers in midfield, but maybe they are sitting a little bit deep and we've been opened up behind us again. And I think we're now at the stage where Maribor probably deserve to be ahead. We're pretty even on the XG, but the chances that Maribor have created getting in behind us, I don't know how comfortable I am with. By the way, you have ideas about how we could still go a little bit more attacking, maybe even in this shape if we're going to stay this way next season, but try and protect ourselves from those balls over the top without dropping the defensive line. Well, I am all ears. I think this one is going to play out as a 1-1 draw. I was impressed with our first half performance, not so much with the second. I'm not sure where this leaves us in terms of what our plan is going to be next season. It does at least mean that we've had a 3-game unbeaten run with the 0-0 draws, a 5-game unbeaten run to finish the season, and on the XG, well, we finished that game ahead. Let's show you how it leaves the league table looking. So Domjala have climbed above us on the final day of the season for the second year running. No 5th place finish for us. Instead, we finished down in 6th, comfortably ahead of the relegation zone, which I think, if you consider how poor we were heading into the winter break, that's probably a result on its own. But we would like to turn Dob into a club that regularly finish in the top 3 places in the league, have more runs in the cup, and maybe even have another title challenge in us over the next 3 seasons. But what is our plan of attack to make that happen? I'm going to be very interested to know what you would do if you were in charge of Season 6 of the Dobfather.